here we are going to discuss the major additions and deletions. Okay, for the September 2004, September-October 2004 window. Fine. I guess everybody of y'all, most of y'all are writing it then, or you might be writing it in future. But anyway, it applies for September, October, and the future periods. Okay. I'm going to share you a summary. One good news at the outset. Changes are actually going to reduce your workload. It's not going to increase it. Okay. Right. So that is the good news part of it. Right. So this is a summary basically. This is the summary. Like they said, small changes made to syllabus. What's happening? Okay. There's something strange happening with the pen. Okay. Small changes made to the syllabus. So nothing large. No major additions or deletions. Nothing major. Okay. But still there are going to be some issues. Right. So this is here. Yes, in part, we are not going to do part 2. I'm sorry about my pen. It's behaving crazy. Okay. I don't know why it's behaving like this today. Anyway, what you have to see is in part 2, only some name changes. Okay. But we are not talking about part 2 now. Part 2, there's nothing major anyways. Okay. So decision analysis has become business decision analysis. Risk management has become enterprise risk management. Investment decisions have become capital investment decisions. And in any case, whatever they have suggested as the changes for part 2, I already do it even in the old syllabus. Okay, those additions, I do it even in the old syllabus. Now, what you should note here is part 1. Part 1, we are having in section A only additions. There are no deletions. Okay. So, consolidated financial statements. It was actually there also in the old syllabus, but very briefly. Okay, you could expect maybe what you call word questions. Okay, so here it's going to be a little more deeper. Define consolidated financial statements, the 2 types of models, which is the variable interest entity, also called the VIE. The VIE. Okay. It's going to be called the VIE model. VIE, sorry. Okay. I'm going to do it this way. VIE model. Okay. Variable interest entity and the voting interest model. Okay. Voting interest model. Now, voting interest is when a company takes over another company for more than 51% of voting rights. Okay. So more than 51% stake, then they are considered to be owners because they have more voting power, right, than the rest. And yes, the remaining are called minority interest. Okay. So that's what it is called. And yeah, so variable interest entity is even though they don't own the shares, because they have significant influence on the subsidiary, okay, on another company, okay, like significant interest means they control everything. All the decision making is done by a certain company who doesn't own much shares though, but still consolidation is required because there is considerable control. Okay, and they are called the primary beneficiary. Who is called the primary beneficiary? The person, the company which has significant control. Okay, so even then consolidation is required. So there are 2 models here, the variable interest model and the voting interest model, which was, if you were referring Hawk, in fact, even in the old syllabus, they had mentioned that. Okay, Now, the new part, even which I am not very sure, is the different kinds of consolidation. I am familiar with only the full consolidation method. There is proportionate consolidation and equity consolidation, which we should see what it is all about once we start teaching. So this is not going to be a class teaching you stuff, okay? But it is going to be uh, just an orientation on what are the major changes. Okay, now demonstrating an understanding of intra-company balances that they have to be eliminated during consolidation was also there in the old syllabus if you have been studying Hawk. I have not seen the Sargent on that, the old syllabus, but if you have been studying Hawk, uh, it was introduced, the intra-company balances which have to be eliminated. Okay, so they did mention that. So now what I'm going to do is just share to you what you have to study in the Sargent text. Okay. Remove this. Yeah. If I search for so these are the concepts you have to study. Okay, these are the concepts you have to study. I'll increase it a little bit. Right. And yeah. So these are the extra stuff you have to study. Right. There are no much numbers, unfortunately. Probably there are in the question bank. Okay, so there would be number questions as well as word questions on this. Right? Yeah. So the variable interest entity is also mentioned here. Okay. The VIE, where there's going to be a primary beneficiary who has to consolidate with the company which they have significant control. Okay. So the theory goes on like this. Not much numbers to show it. Okay. So, but you could get, yeah, I was mentioning about primary beneficiary. It's mentioned here. Yeah, but you could get questions involving numbers as well as words. Okay, on this particular topic. All other things remain same in section A. Okay. So mainly the VIE model, variable interest entity model, and the voting power model has to be studied. Okay. Any questions? I'm going on talking. Do you all have any questions on this part? After that, that's all. That's the material in Sargent which you are going to study. If you're referring Hawk, probably it would be a little bit more. Okay. So what I would suggest is read this theory and later on do a lot of multiple choice questions on this new topic. Okay. Right. I hope the guys, the providers have provided multiple choice questions, as this is relatively, of course, it was there. It was mentioned in the old syllabus, but probably it's now more deep. Right. So I hope they have introduced multiple choice questions also on this. That is it. And yeah, that's all. The theory part on this is this much. You will have to do multiple choice questions after listening to the classes, of course. Okay. And both number and theory. Okay. Yeah. So then now what's the next change? Let me just go to it. Yeah. Section A, this was it. Consolidation, mainly say consolidation. Okay. Consolidated financial statements. What do you mean by the word consolidated? Joining together two separate companies' financial statements and showing it as one economic or accounting entity. Okay. So that is the meaning of consolidation. Was there in the old syllabus and I used to do it. Okay, but now it's more deep. That's all. Under internal control, now we are coming to section E. Under internal control, Everything else is going to be the same, but this addition is there. Methods of testing the adequacy of internal controls, including inquiry, observation, inspection, and reperformance, and how to correct the internal control deficiencies. Okay. Now, identify the methods of testing adequacy of internal control was there to some extent in the old syllabus. The TDRA, top-down risk assessment, is one way of testing the adequacy of the internal controls done by the external auditors. Okay. So here probably it's going to be a little more deeper, and how to remediate or correct the internal control deficiencies was also given, but here it's going to be more in detail. Just let us have a look at it in the text part. Okay. Okay. Just let me go to the text part and see what they are talking about. It is section E. Okay. Yeah. So this is the part which has been introduced. Okay, testing methods for internal control. Right? So this control sufficiency, control precision. Of course, in the classes, I'll be explaining it more detail. Okay. And SOX, how SOX gets involved here in testing the internal control. Then what I told you, the TDRA. TDRA was there in the old syllabus also. If you were looking at Wiley or Hawk. Okay. So here it is given in more detail. Fine. And it's easy. Nothing to worry about. Fine. And it shows you how to test. This is basically for the external auditors to test the internal control, whether it is working well or not. Because the external auditors under SOX has to attest that the internal controls are working fine. Okay. So this is the theory part, the extra part you have to study. And control deficiency remediation. How do you correct significant deficiencies? Okay, so that's also mentioned. The theory part is here. Okay, material weakness, professional judgment, and then that's it. That's all. That's the addition. Okay, right. Remaining is corporate governance, etc. Tone at the top. All that has been is there in the old syllabus as well. Okay, so this is the new part which you have to go through. Okay, so as you can see, there's nothing much to worry about. And the good news is so many deletions. Okay, so many unnecessary things they have deleted. I'll come to that. Okay. You don't have to compare with the old text. Okay. Because whatever you study, the new text will not have those items which are deleted. Okay. So you don't have to see what you are missing. Okay. But a lot of your load has been reduced. Let me tell you that much. Okay. Any questions here regarding internal control? Any questions, guys? Be free to interact with me. Okay. Because only then I
whether
on
there
your
will
mind.
be any
Yes, yes.
sir, whether there will be any changes in weightage after the syllabus change?
I don't think so. They did not mention that.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Right. Section A will still be 15%, and I think section E is also 15%. Am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I
Yes,
can
sir.
show it to you, the weightage. Anyway, at the beginning of the chapter, they would give you the weightage. Okay. Right. IMA takes the weightage very seriously. That's what they have told. Okay. So, like some people are asking, internal control, probably you have 10 or 15%, but we got a lot of questions on internal control. So what IMA replied for that is the number of questions doesn't matter. The degree of difficulty of those questions would decide the weightage. Okay, because their correction methods are a little different. Okay, so a weighted score is Now, you might have many questions on internal control, which are easy. So that, ultimately it comes to the total weightage, what they have promised, 15% or whatever. Okay. But if you have a few questions on it, the degree of difficulty will be such that it still amounts to the same weightage. Okay, which is 15%. Fine. So that way. Fine. So, yeah, they have not mentioned any change in weightage. A tip what I give you, be very familiar with this TDRA for internal control testing measures. Okay, top-down risk assessment. See, the approach for theory is not the same as approach for practical number questions. Of course, both require practice, but theory requires more practice. You have to get it into you. So a number of revisions are required. And number of material outside the text you may need to study. Okay, to understand completely, so that when you are applying it in an essay or a multiple choice question, whatever you have read, extensive reading what you have done would come back to you and help you in answering the correct, choosing the correct choice. Internal control and technology, section F, these are the two areas is why part 1 has got low results compared to part 2. Okay, because the answers, the choices are very close to each other. You cannot make out which is the right one, and you have to select the best. Okay, so a lot of analytical
Yes, sir. All answer are looking the same.
Yes, exactly. They look the same, and you go wrong. Because here there's nothing like almost correct, is it not? In multiple choice questions, it's either correct or not correct. Finished. Either marks or zero. Okay, essay at least they will give you some marks for what you have written, but multiple choice is not that way. So take time. Do not underestimate theory at all. Generally, I have noticed in classes, everybody is attending the number questions subjects. Like, section A, they will attend section B, wherever there is numbers. Okay, then they will attend section C, which is also variance analysis, numbers. And when it comes to the theory part, E and F, many people are missing. They think they can do it on their own. Of course, you can do it on your own, but it's better done with discussion. Okay, we discuss certain things. I would be showing you extra stuff. Okay, and questions, interactions, clarifications, all this is important to get your theory part strong. And all professional exams, Indian and foreign, like all have 75% theory, all professional exams. Analyze it. Even the number sections, number subjects have a lot of theory. Accounting, for example, financial accounting has got accounting standards, which is theory. You need to know them. Okay. So do not underestimate theory. This is a big mistake everybody does. A focus should be given on that from the beginning. You cannot cram it up at the exam time. Okay. Any other questions on this? So concentrate a lot on TDRA, right? Control deficiency remediation, I would suggest do some extra reading as well out of the text. Read the text and go out of the text as well. Okay. There are so many things, so many sources. There are YouTube channels on it. Okay. Go through it. Fine. Get a wide, extensive knowledge. So let me go to the next part of it. Right. Going back. Yes. Section F. Define data management. Okay. Data management was included in the previous old syllabus also, but here it's going to be a little more. I will show you the text. I'll show you the text for it. Don't worry. Now, multiple regression. Now, this was just spoken about, just mentioned under the old syllabus. And frankly speaking, I have to do research on logistic regression, which I'm not very familiar with. Multiple regression, I am familiar. But logistic regression, of course, I will have to see the text. I will have to prepare myself before explaining this stuff. Okay, but multiple regression is a more thorough understanding is required, because let me tell you one thing. All this while in the old syllabus, we were doing simple regression, but in real life, more than one variable would decide a particular action or decision. Okay, right. For example, for a financial manager to be successful and effective, what is required? Only education? If only education decides his efficiency and effectiveness, then it's a simple regression. But education, experience, inner talent and ability, sometimes that comes naturally. Okay. So, and various other stuff, even the work environment, culture of the organization, there are so many variables to make a person effective and efficient. Okay. Similarly, for a salesperson, probably education is not at all relevant. Okay. Other things matter. So, that's why they are stressing on multiple regression. See the second one also, calculate the result of multiple regression equations as applied to a specific situation. Now, let me go to the text on this. Okay, let me go to the text on this. Okay. Yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, now this regression analysis here, what they have mentioned here, fine. Simple and multiple regression analysis is belonging to section B. Okay, it's belonging to section B. Fine. And the assumptions and everything else they have explained well in section B. Okay. I don't know, probably because of that, they have not spoken about it much in section. I didn't find it even in section F. Okay, I didn't even find it in section F. Okay, because they mentioned it a lot in section B. Okay, planning, budgeting, and forecasting. So,
Sir, majorly in the forecasting part.
pardon?
Majorly in the forecasting part.
Yes, in the forecasting part. But this regression, multiple regression, in the summary, they have mentioned it under section F. Section F, I didn't find anything in Sargent. Okay. Probably because he has explained everything here in section B. Okay. So understand this fully. Of course, you will be taught this, right? And he has shown you with numbers also. Do plenty of multiple choice questions on this, because I've got feedback from students, right, when they have done part 1, that I did everything, sir, but regression question I did not understand at all. Okay, they always say that, and regression is quite important, multiple as well as simple regression. Okay, right. At least you see here in the CMA exam, you don't have to work out, you don't have to remember any formulas for regression. You should just understand the relation of each formula. Okay, and what does it mean? What does the slope mean? Okay, what is a y-intercept mean? Right? So you should be understanding the regression equation and what meaning or information it gives you. You don't have to work out a regression problem as such. Okay, because it's all done in computers now. In fact, you put 2 sets of data in Excel and it could give you anything what you need in regression. Okay, so that's why they're not concentrating on the working part of it, the computation part of it, but more on the understanding part. Okay, do plenty of multiple choice questions on this. Okay, they have given you some worked examples also. They're given extensive data here before they went to learning curve. So that's why probably I did not see it at all in section F. Okay, any questions on this? See, for example, these formulas, you do not have to memorize. Okay, you don't have to memorize at all. P-value, also you do not have to memorize the formula, but you should know what it means. What is the threshold for a t-value? See, for example, t-value should be at least 2 to be useful. It could be more than 2, it will be very useful. Okay, so those kind of things you should understand clearly. Okay, so instead of memorizing formulas, so that is the good part about CMA. Okay, you are not going into what you call in Hindi gada majduri, not working out, memorizing formula, but more on the understanding and taking decisions based on what the regression gives you. Okay, now let me go back to the summary. Yes, that's it. That's the changes. That's the changes. The deletions you don't have to worry about because it's not there. I'm not showing you the old text and saying this is deleted. You understand? It's a waste of time. What for? The new text doesn't have this. Now, what happens? I will just explain to you. Okay. Right. For example, the next is the deletion for part 1 is only, yeah, until here, section is. Now, one very big good news, if it was, see, I look at deletions sometimes not as a good news. I look at it as the opportunity missed to earn good marks. That's also a way of looking at it. You understood? Now, calculations of EUP, once you understood, EUP is equivalent units of production. It was a thorn in the flesh for many students. Many students couldn't understand this. Okay, so if it was given in an exam, automatically the weightage of the paper is more. As I told you, the more difficult the paper is in the CMA, the lesser questions you need to get correct to pass the exam. It's a weighted score. If you get an easy paper, don't rejoice. Don't rejoice. Don't celebrate. You need to get more questions correct to pass the paper. Okay, to pass the exam. So this, I would say, I would think that it is difficult, considered difficult, calculations of equivalent units of production. But if you crack it, if you understand it, there was an opportunity for you to earn more marks. Now that has gone. Okay, so you look at it as a good news or a bad news, I don't know. I look at it somewhat like a bad news because there was a good opportunity to earn difficult marks here. You understood? Considered difficult, but once you understand, it's very easy. Nothing is difficult. Nothing is difficult or advanced. It only needs some patience in understanding it. Remember the first time you started driving a car, wasn't it very difficult? Right? And after that, you are dreaming and driving, right? That's the way it is. Okay. So no calculations for EUP. That is a big reduction in your workload. Theory of constraints was a lot of stories, like, it was a modern way of looking at production. It was interesting, but anyway, probably it was not practical. So that is why they have removed it. Okay. Activity-based management was an offshoot from activity-based costing. Okay. So they have removed that. It was anyway very small topic. Ways to improve accounting process. I didn't even know that existed. Okay. Anyway, that has been removed because probably each firm would follow it in a different way. And COBIT is one regulation for actually IT installation. Okay. Right. So that part, it was a sort of a body responsible for for actually installing IT systems. Okay. So that has been removed. That was a lot of like COSO. Okay. Uh, COSO also is for internal control, right? What is the full form of COSO? I forget. You all remember? COSO. Anybody remembers? Right? So this COBIT is something like that. A body responsible for regulating and controlling the IT function. Okay. A committee of or sponsored organization, this COSO, I think. I'm not sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that part, that like that COBIT, so that has been removed. But let me tell you one thing very strange here. Okay. So when I go to the text, when I go to the text, let me go to the text. And I type theory of constraints because it's supposed to be gone, right? Let's see if it is there. It says no, nothing found. It's there. Okay. And also ABM is there. Active steps in ABM, that is activity-based management. Okay, probably in connection to activity-based costing, he has spoken about it. But according to the summary given by IMA, this is not included in the syllabus. Okay, so you don't have to study this. Probably they just mentioned that, but they're told steps in ABM. Okay, it's a very small paragraph anyway. It won't kill you if you know about it. Okay, so even though it's not there, theory of constraints and ABM, it is mentioned. Okay, it is mentioned. Theory of constraints is just mentioned there, but they have not given explanation. Otherwise, under the old syllabus, about 2 or 3 pages of explanation on theory of constraints is to be there. Okay, all others are important. Okay, just in time, benchmarking, BPE, business process reengineering, all that is very, very useful. Okay, so theory of constraints just been mentioned, nothing else is given in it. That is a load off your chest. Okay, so that is about the additions and deletions of part one of the CMA. Okay, that is about it. Yeah, and COBIT is not there, so it's not even introduced in the new set. It was about 2 pages of learning of theory. Okay, so that is not there at all. Okay, part 2, the changes are just very negligible. In fact, I would say no changes. Okay, right? Only professional ethics, they're giving you something extra to study regarding data ethics, about privacy, for example. When you have AI models and you're analyzing data, you should not infringe on the privacy of your clients. Okay, so ethics regarding that is introduced in professional ethics section F in part 2. Other than that, whatever they mentioned of changes in capital investment decisions, like profitability index introduced, right? All that I used to anyway teach them. Okay, profitability index was anyway taught. Okay, and risk management has now become enterprise risk management. That's all. Everything else remains the same. Decision analysis, business decision analysis. Section A, they just introduced a trend analysis. Okay, which anyway, we used to study it anyways. Okay, I used to show examples of trends in my classes. Okay, so nothing much. Only you can say out of these small changes, the most part of the changes is in part 1. And as you can see, it's nothing much. In fact, it's more of deletions than additions.